All right. Well, welcome back to Liberation of Education. This is our third day, the second year of our fantastic conference, and it is my distinct and honor and pleasure to introduce you to a good friend of mine and an incredible entrepreneur, Trey Goff. And Trey is going to tell you all about what he's doing with Learn Arena and turning the education realm on its head from an educational technology standpoint. Trey's an entrepreneur from Mississippi, so he came from a tough state. He graduated from Mississippi State University in 2017 with degrees in both economics and political science, and he's written a book with the Institute for Market Studies, and several pieces of legislation that got passed in the Mississippi legislature. He's also led think tanks that promote free markets and individual liberty. He spent 5 years as chief of staff and chief marketing officer at Prospera, a private city building company that aims to create prosperous and sustainable communities around the world. Today, he's co-founder and CEO of Learn Arena, the competitive e-learning platform. With that, I will turn it over to you, Trey. Bring it home.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it. And I am deeply honored to be able to speak at this conference. I really appreciate it.
For sure.
All righty, let me share my screen. So this is a visual aid and we will get started. All right, as Chris said, I am Trey Goff, co-founder and CEO of Learn Arena. And what we do in a nutshell, and obviously you'll get a lot more detail on this as the talk continues, we are a competitive gamified e-learning platform where students can profit from learning and get placed in the career of their dreams as a result. Now, before we kind of dive into what it is we're up to, what e-learning is generally, I want to talk about what the current kind of state of the e-learning market is. And I'm going to try to make this talk, I've been to a lot of conference talks, right? So I'll try to make this as kind of as entertaining as possible for you guys, because I've sat through a lot of these before and I know how boring they can get. So for those of you that don't know what I mean in particular, for the purposes of this talk at least, for e-learning, what I'm referring to are e-learning platforms specifically. So these are platforms that are effectively course marketplaces, right? They're accessible. They are platforms where the interaction with the course material is entirely student driven, meaning there is no cohorts, there are no like actual live instructors that students are dynamically interacting with. And as a result, they have global scale. You could think of them as like a YouTube for education, right? Except instead of just watching YouTube videos, you're going through actual structured courses, okay? That's what I mean by e-learning platforms. And the thrust of what I want to talk to you guys about today is what is wrong with most existing e-learning platforms. And I'll share with you how at least we at Learn Arena are trying to fix those problems. Not saying we're perfect, not saying we're going to nail it, but we're giving it a good old college try. So I'll tell you guys about how we're trying to solve some of those problems. Now, first, let's talk about how big e-learning has gotten and why I think this topic is super important, Learn Arena or not. Like, this is just something that every parent and every educator should be well aware of. E-learning has been growing extremely rapidly since the end of the coronavirus pandemic, especially because of the stay-at-home order. Students couldn't go to school. And a lot of enterprising parents were like, well, I'm not letting my kids sit at home for 6 months doing nothing but playing Xbox, playing Call of Duty, whatever. I want them to keep learning, to keep progressing. So what a lot of people did was pivot to e-learning platforms. And as you can see here, the total number of enrollments is rapidly approaching 200 million users in 2021, according to the World Economic Forum. And that number has only been going up since then. So this is a rapidly growing market. As a result, some of the bigger companies in this space are decently sized, right? $1 billion market capitalization is certainly nothing to sneeze at. Some of the biggest players like Coursera, Udemy, and Codecademy have been around for a decade or more. And therein actually also lies a bit of the problem, which is that these companies have, in my opinion, become incredibly complacent. So the problem these e-learning companies were initially built to solve is the university problem. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I'm sure other speakers have covered far more eloquently than I the myriad issues with the extant university system. I'll just mention there's several $1 trillion of outstanding student loan debt out in just the United States alone. As a result of that, universities are overly expensive. A vast majority of those funds are spent on administrators, sports programs, big, new, fancy, flashy buildings, things like that. They're not used to actually educate students, right? And most importantly, universities are largely signaling mechanisms. There's this great book, if none of you have read it, called The Case Against Education by one of my favorite economists named Brian Kaplan. And the point he makes is that a university degree is effectively a giant stamp on your forehead that says, hey, I am generally competent. I have managed to not mess up my life up to this point so far. That's about all it says. It doesn't tell you anything specific whatsoever about what that student knows, what skill sets they have, what human capital they have that really matters to the employer. It's just a signal of general competence. I like to think of it as, again, like a giant rubber stamp on the forehead that says, I am okay. I am at least moderately hireable. So e-learning platforms were initially created to try to solve the university problem, if you will, to try to make learning easier, cheaper, more effective. And they succeeded at that in a few ways, at least moderately. These e-learning platforms are much cheaper, obviously. The courses are $10 to $20, $100 at most, right around in that range. As a result, it's much more efficient. Students take the courses they want to take at the pace they want to take them at, and they get to select which courses that they want to take, which is a big difference from college, right, where you have very structured kind of degree paths, which is a double-edged sword. It can be good and it can be bad. But importantly, and I want to make this point like crystal clear, right? The biggest e-learning platform I showed you over here, it's around $2 billion market capitalization. And the education market in just the United States alone is several $trillion. Clearly something is off here, right? If these e-learning companies had actually disrupted education in the way that we need to progress society and to be able to inspire and create the next generation of innovators and of entrepreneurs, this isn't how we're going to get there. A $2 billion in a multi-trillion dollar market is a drop in a bucket. It means next to nothing, right? So these e-learning companies, while they've put up a good effort, they have not been able to significantly disrupt existing educational systems much at all. That's because e-learning platforms have an Achilles heel. And that Achilles heel has a few core elements that I'm about to kind of share with you guys. They're unengaging, and I'm going to go into detail on each of these. They're unengaging, they insult your intelligence, they have severe quality issues, they're an ineffective credential for employment, and perhaps most importantly, they're ugly and woke. And I'm going to go over each one of these in turn to explain the issue there. And then I'll go over kind of briefly and quickly how Learnerina is trying to solve these issues. So first, they're unengaging. What this chart shows, this is from an MIT study from 2019. You see those little percentages down there on the bottom right that say 8%, 7%, 6%, 8%? That is the percentage of students that stayed enrolled to the end of the course after they signed up. That means of people that sign up for online courses, over 90% of them end up not finishing it. 90% of people, let me frame this a different way. 90% of people that buy the e-learning product find it so distasteful and boring and unengaging, they don't use the product. There's no other product on earth I can think of that's like that, where 90% of the people that buy it don't use it. Imagine going and buying an iPhone and then being like, you know what, this sucks, I'm just gonna throw it away. You wouldn't buy the iPhone in the first place. No other industry is like this. It's absolutely incredible. Two, and one that I'm sure if any of you have used an e-learning platform, you'll know what this feels like. Existing e-learning platforms insult your intelligence. Now, I'm not kidding. What I did for this slide was opened a course on Code Academy and screenshotted the first step of one of the first exercises. On Code Academy, just to pick on them for a second, because they're one of the worst about this, the hints literally just tell you what to do. So this was a coding course, right? And the instruction is print the greeting, hello world. Very simple command, as you can see here. The hint just gives you the code to copy paste in. Every single exercise is like this. They do not respect your intelligence at all. They do not think you as a user can figure out how to solve problems. And to be fair to these e-learning companies, part of the problem is a lot of people don't want to work, right? And they don't realize that it is through the work and through striving through difficulty to learn that you actually learn and retain things. And that's because those e-learning companies have put almost no effort into incentivizing students to actually have a reason to finish the courses. So if the students don't have a reason to finish it, well, I'm not going to try hard at something that's difficult, right? I'd rather it be easy. So you end up with this terrible negative equilibria where Code Academy assumes you're an idiot and most other users besides you are putting no effort into the course. So you're learning next to nothing about it. There's no efficacious hints. They don't respect your intelligence whatsoever. Now, another issue is with course quality. I'm going to pick on Udemy now, right? All I did for this one is I screenshotted a section of Udemy that was about Python courses. I want you to take a look just for 5 seconds at those courses right there. Tell me which course is the one that you should take to start learning Python. And if you look for 5 seconds, you'll realize there's absolutely no way to tell which of those courses is absolute nonsense and which one might be written by an MIT computer science professor. I don't know. There's no telling. That's because the existing platforms have severe course quality issues. Udemy is the worst at this. Udemy opted for kind of like a YouTube model of e-learning where anyone, anywhere in the world can create a course and upload it on Udemy and sell it. And by the way, notice as another aside about, again, how these platforms are kind of scammy and spammy and not at all optimized for helping people actually learn. Notice how each of these courses is miraculously marked down by like $100. Like two of the one in the middle there were $110, $109.99, but oh, they're magically marked down right now to $12.99. And it's constantly like that. Again, these people do not respect their users. They do not respect their customer base. And as a user, as a student, it is impossible to tell what is good or what is the wheat from what is the chaff, right? What is the cream from what is the waste? There's no way to tell which of these courses are actually worth taking. So it's left up to the student to try to figure it out and kind of bumble along. And a lot of them just give up at this screen because you're like, well, I don't know which course is good. So I guess I'll just pick one randomly or not take one at all. I don't even know how to tell. Because again, the problem here is because there's not a lot of filtering going on. If you're a student and you don't know anything about Python, how could you possibly evaluate if the Python course is good or not? Because you don't have the prerequisite knowledge to evaluate if it's good or not. It's a terrible paradox that these e-learning platforms have left a lot of students in. Now, another issue is that the course selection on a lot of these platforms results in a terrible signal to the market. I could come to an employer with a certificate from Udemy or a little proof from Coursera that I took a Python coding course, right? But that means literally nothing to them because both from the previous slide, again, you have no idea if the courses are high quality or not. And two, from this slide, the point I'm making here is the course selection is just absurdly intellectually bankrupt. Just read some of these course titles. And again, I just took a screenshot from the top of Coursera for this one. Become a professional tarot card reader. Spiritual shamanic healing initiation into the Manoi key. Like, what is this absolute nonsense that they are trying to sell to students? How to be psychic development for beginners. Literally, this is so much worse than I thought it was, by the way. I was worried you guys were going to think I photoshopped the screenshot. Go to Coursera and look for yourself. These are real courses that they offer right now. So this course selection, because it's so bad, is a horrendous signal to the market. Like, yeah, I got a Coursera certificate that I took 10 courses. They might have all been on how to be a psychic, but hey, I took a bunch of courses on how to be a psychic. It's completely preposterous, completely ridiculous. And last and not least, and perhaps even most importantly, a lot of these platforms are ugly and woke. And let me focus on the ugly part first for a second. This is a bit of a philosophical statement. I'm just going to lay it out there and leave it, but because you'll either agree with it or not, I'm not going to defend it right now. I firmly believe there is a deep relationship between the good, capital G good, and the aesthetic, right? That form and function have a symbiotic relationship. Well, all of these e-learning platforms, and I'm using Udemy, a screenshot from Udemy again as an example here, use this corporate Memphis art style that I hate with such a deep burning passion. It's this flat favicon art style. If they add any color to it at all, the color is usually completely random, like blues and purples and greens. And it is all downstream of the idea that these marketing departments and these UI UX design departments in these companies are run by a cabal of effectively left-wing progressive activists, okay? So what happens is they are terrified to even do something as simple as put a photo of a man or a woman or a little graphic of a man or a woman on the cover of one of these things, because they might offend someone. They might risk offending someone by so doing. They might receive a lower ESG score if they do so. So because of that, they all use this uninspiring, bland, flat, bankrupt corporate Memphis art style. And I'm using the art style as just an example of how intellectually bankrupt and how kind of philosophically and culturally bankrupt the whole enterprise is. And this is important because if you are this philosophically bankrupt, that bleeds into how you run your business. That bleeds into, in education especially, and Chris can attest to this, how you structure your courses, what kind of courses you want to teach, what kind of teachers you seek out. The quality of your content is a direct reflection of your philosophy and the philosophy about which you kind of go through life, right? So this flat, ugly art style and the kind of woke anti-work ideology that is behind it results in, again, a worse experience for users. The education you might get on these platforms is often corrupted by this kind of undercurrent force, this undercurrent destructive philosophy that has bankrupted most of the education sector, to be honest. I could wax poetic for the next 30 minutes about some of the meetings I have had with EdTech VCs specifically, but I'll leave that for another talk. If you guys want me to come back and just absolutely attack EdTech VCs for 30 minutes, I can do that too, because they're not pleasant people to talk to. Now, let me tell you how we're trying to solve this, okay? Now that you kind of understand the problem with e-learning platforms writ large as they currently exist, how we're trying to solve this. Number one, give students a reason to take the course and finish it, okay? So create an incentive to finish the course. We do this in two ways. One, users can compete like a video game. So we have a ranking system, a leaderboard system, customizable profiles. We even copied, so a lot of video games, right? Especially the AAA competitive video games that millions and millions of students are playing today. Think Fortnite, Call of Duty, Rocket League, Apex Legends, etc. All have an experience point system, which means like when you finish a match or you finish a game, right, you get experience points for having done well. And if you do well, then you get experience points to rank up. And if you rank up, you can climb the global leaderboards where you can see how you compare and compete against your friends and against people from around the globe. We have taken that exact social competitive nature and built it into e-learning for the first time. So our courses end with something called a final skill challenge. You can think of it like a final exam, but a bit more dynamic. And if you do well in that final exam, you finish in the top 15% or above in your particular class, which just means the people who took the course at the same time as you, then you'll get more skill mastery points. Which means you'll rank up faster, you'll climb the leaderboards faster. And most importantly, to point two here, you can profit from learning on Learn Arena. So every course that we have, and I'll show you a screenshot of what this looks like in real time in a minute. Every course that we have has a payout structure attached, meaning if you finish in the top 5% on most of our courses, you can make up to $40 per course, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you take a few courses at the same time and ace all of them, you could make 60, 80, $100 a week in profit because our subscription is only $9 right now. I'll explain what's included in the subscription later, just for those who are interested. But my point is just that we're creating a financial incentive to learn right now, right? This doesn't exist on any other platform. So because of that, students actually have an incentive on Learn Arena to take their time, to put in the effort, to strive, to work through the harder parts of the platform or the harder parts of the course and actually learn as a result. And I'll talk about why that's very important for learning here shortly. And last but not least, we have a fairly unique course catalog. And what I mean by that is we've opted for more of a Netflix model of course creation and content creation, right? So what we do is we go find third-party content creators, whether they be people with industry expertise in the specific field or subject matter of the course is about, or we find college professors who have the experience or other people who are just subject matter experts in a variety of ways. Maybe they're independent academics. And we work with them to fit them into our pedagogical structure and our pedagogical kind of standard to import those courses into Learn Arena. So a lot of these other platforms, you can't find a course on philosophy of any, and philosophy is a broad subject. You can't find a course on logic, on ethics, on epistemology, on anything, right? You can't find a course on the history of George Washington's presidency. You can't find a basic intro to economics course, like a survey economics course, like you might find in high school. Well, our platform has that. Our platform is intended to help turn students into polymaths. And a polymath is someone who has a high degree of expertise in a wide variety of disparate, unrelated fields, right? And it is polymaths, people like Elon Musk, people like Steve Jobs, many others. These are the people who truly innovate and change the world. And those are the type of users and students and customers we are trying to create with Learn Arena. And we do that through our broad course catalog. So there's a course for everyone on Learn Arena. We have over 40 courses in our pipeline right now. There's 10 live on the platform right now. And we're adding multiple courses per month. So that will keep growing over time. Eventually, my goal is to have a course on every conceivable topic on Learn Arena. Totally different from these other e-learning platforms. And by the way, a course on every topic that is real. So unfortunately, if you want to take the psychic course, you're still going to have to go over to Udemy. I don't know what to tell you there. Now, the way the course works, and again, just to reiterate, super simple. You kind of invest to enter the course. Right now, there's two ways to do that. You can either just buy into the course directly, which is either $10 or $20, depending on the course, or you can buy the early access program subscription, which is $9 a month. What that gives you is unlimited access to all the courses. You can enroll without having to pay separately for each course. The course takes about 2 weeks in calendar time. In reality, it only takes about between 3 and 6 hours maximum to actually work through the material of each course. The analogy I like to use is imagine our courses are a few chapters of the textbook instead of the entire textbook. And that's because another problem other e-learning platforms have, I didn't mention, their courses are way too long. So you kind of just lose interest halfway through. They're all like, I took a Code Academy course on JavaScript last year. And it was like, it probably took me 50, 60 hours to complete, just way too much, especially if you have anything else going on in life or you're not just sitting on Code Academy all day. And at the end, when you take the final skill challenge, you can earn a profit on what you did and rank up on the leaderboards. Now, the reason we think this is going to work, obviously, humans are competitive, humans like video games, and humans like making money. So again, I bring this up, it sounds really kind of banal to observe, but like as basic as this is, clearly other e-learning platforms have not taken in this idea that incentives matter and that students need an incentive, a reason to want to finish the course, right? And this is why they want to finish a course on Learn Arena. Now we have a robust ranking system. It starts at neophyte and works all the way up to polymath. To reach polymath on the platform, which is the highest rank, you have to reach prodigy level in 4 completely unrelated fields. And it's going to take a long time to do. No one's even close right now, and they probably won't be close for a few years to reach that initial polymath rank. It is very, very hard, and intentionally so, because what we're trying to build in reality is a ranking system and a skill tree system that reflects real human capital. So think of a video game skill tree system where you kind of level up your character, right? And you pick the different attributes you want your character to have. You can do that in real life. And that is exactly what we are emulating and building for you with Learn Arena. Now, this is an example of our leaderboards, the way it works. You can compare yourself to people, like I said, around the world, both your friends as well as kind of random people, to create that social incentive to want to learn, to want to do well, and to want to rank up. Now, I want to talk a little bit about our teaching methodology that I alluded to earlier. What we try to focus on, and in direct contrast to that Code Academy example I gave you earlier, is to keep students in the zone of proximal development. This in the pedagogy literature, which just means the teaching literature, basically, is what we have found empirically is the place where people learn the best. It's that kind of sweet spot between way too easy, where it's brain dead, you're clicking hint, you're copying the code, you're pasting it in, and also not too hard, because I'm sure we've all at one point or other in life been on the other end of that spectrum, right? Where something is so impossibly hard and seems so insurmountable, you just throw your hands up and say, forget it, I'm not doing it. That's too hard. Like, it's not worth the effort. I can't do it. We try to keep our courses, and we work very closely, our content team, with the content creators to make this happen, to keep those courses in that zone of proximal development. They're not too easy, not too hard. Right at the doable but challenging is the kind of catchphrase we like to use. Our courses are doable but challenging, because that's the best way to learn. That's the way to increase long-term retention of what you're learning. Now, we initially focused on some of these highly valued business applicable skills, but I need to kind of edit this slide because, as I mentioned earlier, we've drastically expanded our content catalog a little bit faster than I had expected us to. So if you just go to learnarena.com, you can click learnarena.com/explore, just click explore in the top nav, and you'll see we have courses on a wide variety of topics. Now, let me talk very briefly about the final problem with e-learning we're trying to solve, which is that signaling problem I mentioned earlier. So recall from earlier, the problem with a lot of existing e-learning platforms is that they are a terrible signal to the market that you are a competent person, that you are a hireable person that can do a good job in a specific role. We are going to solve that problem through what we call the career placement program. So for students that opt into this, and you do have to opt into it voluntarily, so we're not collecting data on you without your permission, but for students that opt into this, we are going to collect as much analytic data on what they're doing as is physically possible. Everything from how long they spend on a course, obviously their course grades, how they do on final skill challenges, but also try to capture the elements of some things that are a bit hard to measure, but we can get proxies for, right? Like, how diligent are you when you're taking a course? How many times do you take the practice skill challenges, which you can take an infinite number of times? How many times do you take the practice skill challenges to practice for the final skill challenge before you take the final one that matters, right? How many courses do you take simultaneously? How well do you do on average in the courses? What is your average time to complete? What is your average first score on your first attempt on the skill challenges? Right? Measuring a bunch of different stuff about you to be able to then collate that data, feed it into a machine learning algorithm, and then what we'll do is match you with companies that are looking to hire in the specific, whatever the specific area of expertise is. And then they'll be able to sort our users. And this is where the ranking system really comes in, right? And why the ranking system is so important. The top ranked users that have the most skill mastery points are going to be recommended to employers most highly. Why? Because those students are doing the best in courses and have taken the most courses. So one of the major reasons why you as a student have an incentive to take the course is because at the end of the day, if you do well in the course, you might be able to land a job in the career that you're looking for. Now, over time, we're going to refine this process more and more by getting feedback from employers that do hire Learn Arena students, which we will then feed back into that recommendation engine, that machine learning engine, to over time get better and better and better at placing students into careers that both benefits them and benefits the employer, a place where they can actually kind of have an impact and give them purpose and meaning and make the employer happy at the same time. That's the long-term vision of Learn Arena. Now, I want to be clear, we're not launching the career placement program for another 9 months or so. We're a little bit down the road, but it is coming. And importantly, progress you make in the platform now is going to matter a lot when we launch the career placement platform, because again, your ranking at that point and moving forward from that point is what matters for how highly you're recommended to potential employers. So we've made quite a bit of progress, by the way, just to give you guys a kind of a overview of where we're at, right? I actually need to update this slide because as of we're exactly 1 week post-launch now. So we removed our wait list about a week ago and launched that subscription program I mentioned earlier. You can follow us on basically all social medias at Learn Arena if you want to kind of keep track of us on social medias. But the biggest thing you could do is just go sign up for the platform and subscribe. So I'll tell you a little bit about kind of how it works, right? So you can see right here, this is your My Courses page where you can see like what courses you might want to take. You can see what courses you've taken in the past. You can see a little snapshot here of like, okay, what's the difficulty level of the course roughly? How long does it take? How much does it cost? And what is the maximum payout, which is that possible earnings tier, that's what that's indicating. Now, this is a course overview page. So if you're interested in a course, you can click on it and see exactly what is in the course, what you can expect to learn while you're in it. You can also see, most importantly, down here on the bottom right, the potential earnings in that course, which means this is the amount you could actually make from acing the course effectively. You can also see how many students are already in the course, how long the course is open. And we've recently added a module that's not in the screenshot to show when this final skill challenge is as well. So you know exactly kind of the calendar times of the stuff you're signing up for. And that little students enrolled thing is pretty important because the way our model works, and here's a pro tip for any of you that are in this talk, go find a course that has fewer people in it. Because if you do the math, right, you're only competing against, say, 10 people or 5 people to get in that top 5% instead of 100 people or 200 people or whatever the case may be. So a little pro tip I don't share publicly, but for you guys, find a course that doesn't have many people in it if you're really, really wanting to win that course. Now, the actual courses themselves have a variety of features, including remote code execution. So you can click run or submit and actually run code directly in our platform, as if you're learning coding courses in particular. And this is what it looks like when you finish a course. So again, we tried to make this as video game-like as possible. This whole screen is very dynamic and animated when you actually finish the course. We call this the post-class action report. And this is kind of like the after-action report when you finish a Call of Duty match, right? It shows you how'd you do, how'd you place in the course, how much money did you make, and you can actually see your progress bars rank up in specific areas. Because again, you're earning skill mastery points in each of these fields, right? And the goal is to rank up and to continue ranking up to climb up the top of that leaderboard. Over time, you'll be able to track how you're doing with the stats page, which is under construction right now. We have a robust profile page, which is not loading right now. There we go. We have a robust profile page where you can track how you're doing, see your top skills. We're actually going to revamp this over the next few weeks as well. So it'll be much more dynamic. There will be a robust badging system where as you rank up, you get these really cool looking kind of cyberpunk / Roman aesthetic badges as you rank up, and they get cooler the higher rank you get, of course, that you'll be able to display on your profile page. So people can see on your profile page just by the badge alone how good you are effectively, how cool and how cool your badge is a direct corollary to how good you are on the platform. Which goes back to why you've probably noticed the aesthetic of this platform is a heck of a lot different than the screenshots I've shown you. You're not going to find any corporate Memphis on our platform. If you do, let me know where you find it so I can go fire the person that did it. Because I refuse to allow that terrible soulless art style to be maintained here. I want even the art style, right? Even the kind of ephemeral aesthetic of what it is that we're building to be something that inspires you, to be something that encourages you to want to strive for greatness, to be something that you find subjectively appealing, and that is a stark contrast to any of these other e-learning platforms that just have a stupid corporate art style. So with that, I'll stop it there. That's the problem with e-learning and how Learn Arena is trying to fix it. If you're interested in what we're up to, go to learnarena.com, sign up, and buy the subscription. That early access subscription I mentioned earlier is a short-term thing. We're not going to keep that offer for very long, only for the next few months. For $9 a month, which is less than the cost of any one individual course, you can get unlimited access to the platform, unlimited access to all courses. And importantly, if you subscribe in the next 2 months, you can lock in that $9 a month rate for life. Because we just launched, you're one of our early adopters, early users who want to reward that early loyalty. Your price will never go up. And we are going to raise prices as soon as this early access program ends in the next couple of months. So if you want to lock in that right now, go do it. Also, and the last thing I'll add, because I'm trying to kind of shake this industry out of complacency, we'll be implementing a lot of cool kind of cutting edge features. For example, over the next quarter, one of our key goals is to implement a personalized GPT-4 powered AI tutor into each course. I'll tell more about that later, but I think it's going to radically transform the education experience. Imagine as you're going through a course, you have what is effectively a nigh omniscient tutor on the particular subject area you're studying that you have direct one-on-one personalized access to in the course. That'll be rolling out very soon. No other e-learning, we'll be the first e-learning platform to fully incorporate this. Nobody else will have it. And if you subscribe now in the next 2 months, you get access to those upgrades at no extra cost. So it's a crazy deal right now. Share it with all your friends. Sign up if you're interested. And yeah, let us know what you think as well. So you can find me on all socials as well. We have a Discord community that I'm very active in. And I'd love to hear from you guys.
Perfect. Thank you, Trey. That's fantastic. And folks, while I'm coming up with my questions, and Michael, you're there as well, please feel free to jump in here. for the rest of the folks that are in here, go ahead and post your questions. Trey, I've got like 38 questions and I've got them like, and we won't have time for them. Got them broken into like, how would I be inspired to think like Trey as a youth entrepreneur? Because that's part of our conference kind of piece. Then the other side of this is just like much more about the product. And so I'm kind of leaning which way to go on this, but I've got just tons and tons of questions. Michael, do you want to add anything at the moment?
Yeah, I was just saying, of course, I like your product, Trey, and I agree with your critique of Udemy and Coursera, but they're easy targets. I'm wondering, as you look at the competitive landscape, who do you see as the best competitors in your space?
Awesome. So I'll answer both of your questions. Chris, let me do yours first because I like talking about this from a kind of youth entrepreneur perspective. How do you get into stuff? So I'll give like a maybe 1 to 2 minute answer to this. I'm not going to go too long. As I was growing up, I grew up in a small southern town, less than 5,000 people, Ellisville, Mississippi. It's in the middle of nowhere. We had like 2 red lights and like 3 little fast food restaurants, and that's it. I was told growing up, basically, like you have 4 options as a guy growing up in Ellisville. You can go be a doctor, you can be a lawyer if you're smart. If you're not academically inclined, you can go be a lineman, or you can go work in the oil field. That's it. That's your only options. And one of the biggest eye-opening experiences I had in college was realizing, oh, there's a lot more you can do in life than just those 4 things. The kind of key point I want to make here is it doesn't matter where you're from, where you grew up, what you do, what your family background is, what your socioeconomic status is. You can do literally anything that you set your mind to. And I do mean this literally, right? If it does not break the literal laws of physics, it is achievable. My favorite example of this is SpaceX, right? If you would have told anyone in the world 20 years ago that in 2023, there would be a private space flight company that not only has sci-fi-esque reusable rockets, but is launching more tonnage into orbit at a 100x lower cost than any sovereign nation state, and in fact, more than every other sovereign nation state put together, they would have called you absolutely insane. But it was possible and it was doable because one entrepreneur set his mind to doing it with the help of many others, of course. But the point here is nothing in the world is not possible. Anything is possible if you set your mind to it and you do it. It's just a matter of how much time and effort, how many resources you want to expend to try to do it. So don't limit your thinking. Most people get caught in this trap of like this self-limiting and beliefs and self-limiting kind of patterns of thought. I want to try to encourage you as much as possible to break out of that. You can do literally anything you set your mind to, and there are no limits to what you can do if you truly set your mind to and put an effort. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Sometimes it's going to be absurdly hard, right? But that doesn't mean it's impossible. And in fact, most of the time is going to still be worth doing. Just find the thing you want to set your mind to and do it. Anyone at any age can do anything if they work hard enough. Now, Michael, to your question, I completely agree. They are easy targets. It's part of the reason I picked them. The best example and the kind of biggest quasi-competitor we have, although they just luckily focus on a different specific field, but the best gamified e-learning platform in the world right now, not even close, Duolingo. Duolingo is my favorite example that I point to say, we are very far from this right now, but this is where I want to get to. They're much better than us at this right now, which is that really engaging kind of dopaminergic experience of learning. Duolingo does this through a variety of mechanisms, not the least of which are like the little animations and sounds. They put a lot of thought into their sound design, animation design, to where every time you do anything in the platform and you progress, it's a very satisfying kind of dopamine-inducing little hit when you get that little animation, the little stars pop up. It makes that little kind of triumphant sound, right? They also have a good ranking system, a good global leaderboard. The way they've set up their course progression feature to kind of be like you're navigating a trail through the wilderness as you move on. All of that, Michael, is an exemplary example of gamified e-learning. They're the best in the world at it right now, in my opinion. Now, fortunately for us, they're focused only on foreign languages. So I'm trying to take that Duolingo style gamification a little more geared toward adults, or not adults, but sorry, a little more geared toward kind of like a cyberpunk look and feel, just a different aesthetic feel, that's all, than the Duolingo kind of animal theme, and apply the same thing to every other field besides language learning.
Terrific, thanks.
Well, you just answered the question I right up on screen as my first question about your product. What gamification practices are you not using yet? And I had Duolingo completely nailed in my head. I'm thinking things like head-to-head quizzes for extra points. What things do you do to keep people on platform? Maybe mini videos, skills challenges, or personal challenges off platform. I'm also thinking of things that kind of tie back to the real world, like Art of Manliness has this great thing where you can join the strenuous life, and it's a boot camp for 3 months, and people kind of link up together and they try to solve problems together. Just thinking of all these ideas. I mean, first things first, right? But
yeah, absolutely. So on top of the stuff I mentioned just a minute ago about Duolingo, which captures some of that, there's some other stuff that's in the works. Like we're going to implement the Teams feature as well. So this is going to be super fun. You'll be able to link up with some of your friends, form a team. We'll probably limit these to like somewhere between 5 and 10 people, somewhere in there. And there will be a separate Teams leaderboard, right? The way the Teams leaderboard will work is it's just a cumulative skill mastery points in specific subject areas of the members of the team. So then we'll have specific team courses where teams are competing against each other, time delimited team challenges. So this is the point where we'll start introducing like special skill challenges that are just skill challenges by themselves. It'll basically be like, all right, this weekend on Learn Arena, to take a random example, we're going to give you guys a anonymized data set of just a bunch of student scores, right? Whoever can come up with the best machine learning algorithm to recommend top students based on these quantifications that will give you the anonymized data for wins, and you win $1,000, $2,000, whatever. That team will be the winner. So that team then has 24 hours, 48 hours to pull together their best shot and do it. And we'll do this across a wide variety of fields: UI, UX design, graphic design, machine learning, and we'll do writing courses as well. We'll do kind of philosophy analysis. So another interesting thing we're going to implement to allow people to do these kind of head-to-head, like unique challenges that are shorter with higher risk-reward ratio, right? There's only one winner, but they win a lot more. I actually was speaking with a colleague of mine this weekend who worked at Stability AI, who had an idea for how we can do like philosophy papers, history papers, economics papers, free-form writing challenges, both within courses, but also as special skill challenges. The way it'll work is you'll write your paper. We'll probably use a GPT-4 API for this. We will give the algorithm a pre-prompted kind of system that says, all right, this is a course on X. Here's the question that they're trying to answer. Here's the points that you should be looking for, the points that they should make in a good response. Here are things they should not say in a good response. Here's things that are commonly confused they should not say. Then we'll ask GPT, all right, give us your feedback on this, either positive or negative, whatever you think. We can then take that output, which will restrict to 1 to 3 sentences, and GPT will say something along the lines of, oh, this is a great paper that analyzes and contrasts the Austrian school with the Chicago School of Economics very well, but it missed this point and this point, right? We'll then run that through something called sentiment analysis, which LLMs are also very good at. What sentiment analysis does is look for words with emotional valence, things like good, things like bad, things like excellent, things like terrible. And the sentiment analysis, based on the GPT review of your paper, will determine your grade on the paper. So it is a way to fully implement an AI grading pipeline into free-form, open-ended questions. These don't exist on any other e-learning platform by far, because, again, as I mentioned earlier, all of these platforms are incredibly complacent, and they're not looking at what's next. What can we do with the cutting-edge technology now to make that student learning experience much better, and to give them much more options, and to give them a much more engaging experience? We've got a lot of stuff like that in the pipeline in the short term.
Trey, it just gave me a crazy idea as you're talking about the combination of AI and kind of testing people on more free-form type activities. I'm also been engaging in Toastmasters for the last 3.5 years, and I'm watching how that works on people's hearts and their minds. Having to get up and say something is very different than having to type it out. I can imagine a world where Learn Arena then asks people to learn how to deliver rhetoric. You do it so well. Can you imagine people could talk like Trey Goff, the way that you speak? I mean, it'd be fantastic. I mean, yes, it'd be amazing. And imagine if they could use the AI to help them get some feedback on that. There's a company that we snap into on Toastmasters called Yoodli, Yoodli, and it gives you some basic feedback: how fast you're, how much you ranged within your voice, how many words per minute. Did you say and ah a lot? And so maybe there's some way to kind of tie that into your platform or something like that into the future.
So that's part of exactly what I plan to do with that open-ended integration with the combination of GPT-4 feedback analysis with sentiment analysis. The beautiful thing about GPT-4 is it works on audio exactly as well as it does on text. But people don't realize that because GPT-4 hasn't built OpenAI hasn't built an easy way for like just the lay public to play with it. But with the API, you can do it very easily. And you can input video and images into that, and it'll do the same thing. It has perfect computer vision and perfect audio transcribing and analysis features as well. So that same system I just described building, the reason I want to build that pretty soon is because you can use it for any sort of input. So over time, you can end up with exactly what you're saying, rhetoric challenges, right? persuasive challenges. We can even do things like mock trials, right? Where people can do many little mock trial competitions to see who's the most persuasive, who's the best defense attorney, who's the best prosecutorial attorney, right? Things like that. That'll just be fun experiences for students that, importantly, we'll be able to do at scale by using cutting edge technology that these other e-learning platforms just, for whatever reason, seem to be completely ignoring.
Back to the entrepreneurial side just for a second, and Michael, jump in if you want to add anything here. Thinking about where you are in your life cycle of building this company, and how do you build, like, what's the best way, if you could give somebody else advice about where you are now, what's the fastest way to build subscribers, to get your name out there? Is it affiliate marketing? Is it getting on podcasts? How useful has it been to build that awesome community that you've built inside the Discord? And what's the next level beyond that? How do you reach more people? How do you get your name out? I think that's the hardest part, right? Building this amazing product and not be able to find people, tell people about it all day long.
Absolutely, by far. All right, so we live in an attention economy, right? Where on the internet, everybody's vying for everybody else's attention. Let's think about from first principles how we actually achieve that goal, with the goal being everyone has heard about my product. Even if they haven't signed up for it, they've heard about it, right? Well, what spreads most rapidly and easily on the internet? Memes, right? So all you need to be able to do is use Reddit. Reddit's probably the best tool for this, and Instagram as well, meme pages. See what are the most popular meme formats at any given time, and simply incorporate your message, a message about your product or about what you're trying to do, into existing meme formats. I'm not saying this is trivially easy. I'm not that great at it, but some of my coworkers, my co-founder Jackson is. And if you can simply kind of latch onto the existing zeitgeist of whatever the popular meme formats are, you can, for free, using social media, build a huge audience. We only spent about $1,000 a month, not on boosting posts, but on a few content creators who are just really good at making memes, helping us make memes for our platforms. And we have well over 100,000 followers across Twitter and Instagram, just those two platforms alone. From sharing these memes on Twitter, some of them are text-based, right? Sometimes it's motivational posts, sometimes it's how-to posts, sometimes it's tweet threads that are analysis of things that are related to your product. Now, the only way this works, by the way, is if you know what your product is and you know what your mission is, what your vision is. Then once you figure that out, it's relatively easy to scale selling that through memes and through viral posts on social media, effectively for free. It's the best way to build an audience and the lowest cost way to build an audience. And the thing is, the last point I want to make on this, Chris, is not making ads, right? Like not making a meme that uses a popular meme format that says, hey, go sign up for Learn Arena. If you go look at our Instagram page, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. We use popular meme formats all the time to make points related to what we're doing that are insightful, entertaining, witty, whatever. And then that encourages people to go to follow us because they are entertained by the meme itself. And then they're like, huh, these guys are up to something cool. And they have a consistent message. That message is interesting. That message is basically, you should be responsible for yourself. You should learn, you should grow, you should try to have the biggest impact in life. What product are they selling that's related to this? Sounds interesting. They keep mentioning something about e-learning. That's interesting. Let me go check that out. Follows through with clicks to the website, and then bam, you have a huge community built. The other thing is keeping that community engaged, not just with social media, but the Discord is huge. So with Discord, you're able to directly interact with the community dynamically. So we do think we have in fact, I encourage all of you to come join it if you want. We do a weekly book club in Learn Arena where I lead a discussion of a chapter at a time of a very intellectually challenging book. Right now, we're going through Life 3.0 by the physicist Max Tegmark. Obviously, AI is a hot topic right now. So doing things like that it provides value to your community for free. Again, along the lines of and directly in line with what the impact you're trying to have in the world and the product you're trying to sell. I can't stress enough how important it is to give something away for free. Last point, and then sorry, Chris, I know I'm long on this, but I can talk about this all day. Last point is find something to give away for free that provides genuine value to people that will get their foot in the door. You know what we did? Me and two of my co-founders, Nate and Jackson, literally pulled together. We've all three read a lot. We said, all right, what are our favorite, most impactful books, like the books that had the largest impact on us, that we learned the most from in every field, right? Philosophy, economics, business, fiction, etc. We pulled together a reading list of these and just told people, hey, sign up for Learn Arena, get the reading list for free. You don't have to buy anything, you don't have to subscribe yet, just sign up, get the reading list for free. When we launched that reading list, we went from 5 or 10 signups today to it would peak at several hundred a day sometimes. The day we launched the reading list, we got like 400. So give something of value for free that is in line with your product to get the toe in the door, because the proof is in the pudding, right? If these people see, oh, they gave away something for free that I got value out of, well, their paid product must be awesome.
Fantastic. One of my favorite games of all time, and it's been told, I've read somewhere that it's considered to be the perfect game. It was developed by a guy who's like a gamification or game theory expert. It's called Magic the Gathering. Have you ever played that game?
I have not, but it's something I classify as a nerd trap, which is it's so engaging. Smart
Yes.
guys and gals just get sucked into it.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I used to get into that so deeply. I've got, I think the original set, one of the cards in the set now sells for more than $500,000. I mean, that's the following behind this. And I think some really famous people, and I think Hasbro, it's its first $1 billion brand. I mean, it's an impressive game. I think part of it's that head-to-head aspect. I think also the reason that game is considered to be so perfect is that it starts out, you'll start at the same place, and it's about kind of like formulating your deck and the way that it comes together. But when you start the game out, you don't know what you're drawing on. And so I'm thinking, like, how do you devise a game like that where you're, Chat GPT kind of like, a couple of people, you've completed courses, and then you go like head to head. Chat GPT is going to randomly select based on the back of the courses and the material behind it, and two people are going to go at it, and we can watch this live, or you can be in some sort of tournament and you just keep iterating that over and over again. Like people would absolutely go nuts for that, right? Speaking of nerd trap.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So funnily enough, an idea we had for that is similar. And you don't even have to use AI for these because you can do them live, like you just said, is inviting two users, whoever the top users are in a specific thing, to go head to head on it. So like an example we had, right? Let's say we have some UI UX design courses. We have some in the pipeline that are not there yet, but imagine after those are there, we say, all right, the top two users from the people that finished today's course or this week's course are going to go head to head immediately after that course finishes. And they have an hour to design a landing page. We're not going to tell them the parameters until the challenge starts, and we're going to live stream it. So everybody gets to watch them try to build this thing in real time. And then at the end, a panel of 3 judges are going to judge it and say which of these is the best landing page for given the particular constraints they have. Doing challenges like that. Another thing we're going to do that you mentioned earlier, Chris, I want to add an in-person component to this eventually, which I want to do within the next 6 to 9 months maximum, that we'll call the Polymath Retreat, where we'll pull together the top users on the platform that will be invited to do this. And right now, by the way, if you sign up as an early access user on the subscription right now, you are automatically invited to the first Polymath Retreat. We're including all of our early users in this as kind of a treat for loyalty and for kind of taking a bet on us early on. You'll get invited to this. And those Polymath Retreats are going to be awesome. They'll probably be like 4 or 5 days long. It will involve everything from subject matter expert lectures on a variety of things, debate competitions, but also we want to situate kind of the physical aspect of being a polymath too. So we'll have sports games, lifting competitions, you name it, perhaps marksmanship, archery, everything and anything that we think a true polymath should master, we will do in those Polymath Retreats. And you can get invited to that, like I said, if you join the early access subscription right now. But eventually over time, this will be something people come to look forward to, Chris, right? Like, oh, I want to crush it on Learn Arena this year. So I get invited to the Polymath Retreat and I get to hang out with a bunch of like-minded guys and girls and the Learn Arena team. So the other part of this is the Polymath Retreat, I'm going to be doing it all right there with you. Right? Some of you will probably beat me. Who knows? You're not going to deadlift more than me. But besides that, some of you will probably beat me at something. So they'll have that to look forward to as well.
Fantastic. It's like sort of the perfect way to end, but I still have so many more questions. I've got, how do you borrow some of those things from like, I guess Coursera or whatever, like the idea of decentralized course creation. I know that with Duolingo, I saw a note somewhere that if they were involved in the early creation and development of that platform, they get paid in future equity for developing those courses. Now, the problem with that is, right, if you don't follow the best in terms of curriculum development and really aim for something very high, you water down what you have. Is that the challenge with kind of drawing more of the community in to help out? Is that the issue?
That's the balance. So first of all, in the equity point, we do the same thing. So we offer a lot of our courses, not all of them, but especially the high value course creators. I just give them the option. I say, look, we can pay you X dollars in cash for this course or Y dollars in cash, a lower number, plus some equity. With the intent being, if you partner with us over the long term, we will reward you as well. And we have a shared incentive to make the platform work writ large, not just to buy one particular course from you. So I agree with that methodology completely. But you hit the balance quite well, although there is a way to scale this up more, which we're going to be implementing over the next 6 months. So we're going to build a CMS, content management system, where anyone can, and literally anyone can upload a course, right? Now, that course is not going to be available to anyone. The way it'll work is potential course creators will be able to input all of their stuff, their course content, and we'll have very strict guidelines for this. It'll be very clear, like kind of what we're looking for. This will be a very robust process. And then that will be manually reviewed by our team. At scale, we will do a first pass review with AI, with some of these LLMs. And then if it passes a certain threshold from the LLM, then we do a manual human review. So you can imagine, Chris, if you have that kind of coarse filter, fine filter system, the coarse filter is going to get weed a lot of the crap out. You know what I mean? And then the fine filter we use to make sure that these courses meet our pedagogical standards. And that is a way we'll be able to scale these courses rapidly and add a lot more courses much more quickly with much less work on my team. It's like right now, I love my team to death. They're amazing. And the content team in particular, I mean, right now they are literally like going through word by word, editing course outlines and course drafts with the content creators. They are manually uploading the courses in HTML using some this like janky CSV system. And they're not programmers, by the way. They're just having to figure it out as they go along. So they're going to be very happy when we have this too. But my point in bringing that up is it's kind of rough right now for early days. But once that system is fully up and running, it will be possible to scale to there's no limit to how many courses we can have at that point.
Yeah. How about more question on the entrepreneurial side? You game
Sure.
for it? Okay.
Absolutely.
So one of the questions I have are, if you're thinking as a younger entrepreneur, which is obviously the theme for this conference, where are you scrapping and building internally and just working on yourself versus buying for solutions? Sometimes I think like, well, wouldn't it be better just to bolt this on? How do you think about that? I mean, the message today when the winners were announced was like, listen, we're giving you some money. You need to continue to grind it out. If you need to go find, this is a very different type of endeavor, but if you need to go find pressure washing equipment, go find it secondhand. Don't buy the expensive equipment. How do you guys approach that problem?
Yeah, this is a omnipresent problem in any industry, basically. And what you have to do is do it on a case-by-case basis. But the heuristic I like to use is twofold. One, is there a large comparative advantage to be gained from building a solution custom from scratch in-house? And then two, what are the trade-offs of doing so, right? So sometimes it'll pass the first bar, meaning like there is a comparative advantage to be had from building it in-house. But then we take a closer look and it's like, oh, sure, we could build it in-house, but it's going to take us 6 months. It's going to cost $500,000, right? Well, clearly that's a non-starter. Let's just go buy whatever the thing is off the shelf. But if it doesn't even pass the first bar, then like, all right, go find the best solution for it. And don't let perfect be the enemy of the good, right? So what we did early on, when we were making our V1 of the website itself and everything, just to have something together to show the world, to start developing interest and attention, I literally went and found a graphic designer from Argentina on Upwork. And it cost us $200 to do the initial design of the website, right? Now, did it look good? No, but it was a website. It worked. And it conveyed the information we needed it to. I wasn't happy with it, right? But I didn't let perfect be the enemy of the good. And none of us in-house had the design chops to be able to do that. So clearly that's something we need to find externally. But then to give you a kind of a counterexample, right? There are a lot of platforms that just exist right now. They're called LMSs that are just like kind of people have built the back ends for e-learning platforms and just course creation generally, right? I looked at some of these, but I would have been locked into and fully dependent on my entire company would have been dependent on somebody else's company from day one, which you do not want to do, right? Because then you're effectively just an employee or a subsidiary of that other company. You can't do anything independently. And then two, the creative control that you have if you build your own solution for something that critical, right? Something as critical as the course creation and presentation process itself. That's worth building in-house from scratch so that it works exactly as you need it to, even if it takes longer and even if it costs some money. But again, I want to highlight here, there's no like silver bullet to this question. Unfortunately, I wish there was. It truly is a case-by-case basis. But what happens is once you do this iteratively over time, you as the founder and entrepreneur start building up an intuition about, all right, this is something that my gut is saying we definitely need to build in-house versus, oh, this is something we can just go find the best, cheap, off-the-shelf, secondhand solution, right? And the kind of criticalness of whatever the thing is to your core business also plays a big factor in determining whether to kind of spring for a higher quality versus buy the secondhand power washer, right? By way of analogy. So there's no perfect answer here, but those are some of the kind of heuristics I use to make those kind of decisions.
Fantastic. All right, now this is a personal question. If you had to take the top 3 courses that Trey, or top 5 courses on Learn Arena that you would take first, and because it's something about you, or because you know that learning kind of augments everything else that you want to do, tell me what courses you'd take.
All right, the first answer, that's super easy. We have an intro to formal logic course. This is literally how to think rationally, how to recognize the structure of arguments, what a valid and invalid factual statement is, what the most common types of fallacies and most common logical traps people use are. It is literally a course on how to think clearly. right? And that is going to augment everything else you do in life. So if I were starting from scratch right now, the first thing I'd take is the intro to logic course, and there's not even a close second. In second place, I would take the intro to economics course. Now I'm partial to this one because I wrote that one myself. Obviously, I've just so people know the credential there. I have a bachelor's degree in economics, but much more importantly, Chris knows this is not an exaggeration. I literally built a government from the ground up, like soup to nuts in 3 years. So I know a little bit about public policy and how economics works. So I wrote an economics course. The thing about this course, though, is I wrote it in a way that if you just take my intro to economics course, you're going to understand enough basic concepts of economics to understand the economic way of thinking and to make rational decisions about finance and economics in your personal life, and to help you understand the world, right? Help you understand things like why, after a hurricane in my area, are the generators at Lowe's $5,000 when they're normally $500, right? It's not greedy corporations, by the way. It's simple supply and demand. Or things like, well, how do I think about a minimum wage hike? I don't know anything. If you don't know anything about economics, you're just relying on kind of anecdotal and emotional arguments. But if you know how to think about the very basics of supply and demand, which my course covers, then you can understand those kind of things. So this will massively impact your general understanding of the world. And even especially if you're a young entrepreneur, like go take the intro to logic and intro to economics course, because those two will help you think more clearly about your business than anything else we have on the platform. And then the number three, and this is a close three, would be the Python bootcamp course, because right now a lot of those AI platforms and programs use a lot of Python. It's a very valuable programming language, and if you're looking to just get started in programming and know nothing about it, that's where I would start. It's where I did start, actually. The first programming course I ever took was the draft of that Python course like a year ago. We were building it. So the Python for the direction the technology industry is moving would be where I would start.
Fantastic. Well, gosh, folks, listen, $9 a month, you're paying almost $20 a month for Netflix. You're paying $15 a month for Prime movies. Duolingo's right about the same price. This to me is an incredible bargain. I am a member. I am, in full disclosure, I am an investor in this company as well. And I'm also an investor in that awesome government project in Prospero as well. I am all in on everything that Trey Goff does in this entire lifetime. I can say from here on to the day we die. Incredible person, incredible platform. Get involved in Learn Arena and go get them. Trey, thank you so much for being here with us today. Enjoy the rest of your time and on your trip, and we'll connect again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you for pulling this conference together as well. The world needs more stuff like this. So I really appreciate the work you're doing as well. I too will also be supporting whatever it is you do in the future.
Thank you very much, Trey. Awesome. I have
Thanks,
one
y'all.
comment here as we walk out. Thank you. My daughter will love it, says Alicia.
Beautiful. Tell her to sign up, and you can get in touch with me directly. My email address is tgoff@learnarena.com. Here, I'll drop it in the chat here. If you want to reach out to me directly about anything at all related to the platform, I am always available.
Awesome. Trey, thank you so much, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Take care. Bye, everyone.